Once the contract has been established, the next step is to set the rates. First, select the Contract submenu from the Groups and Tenants menu, and then select the contract owner. Next, select the contract you wish to work with. Then click on the Location Information tab. Select the location from the drop-down menu that you wish to add, and click Add Level. The location will now appear in the Active Locations box at the top of the screen. Next, single-click on the location name to highlight it in the Active Locations box to work with the associated contract at this location. Optionally, you can use the Late Fee/Tax Exemption Status and Additional Billing Fees drop-down menus to further customize the billing terms associated with the contract. Next, click on the Rate Information tab. At the top of the screen, select the location from the drop-down menu where you are setting up the contract terms. Then click New at the bottom of the screen. This will open up the bottom section of this page where you can set up customized billing instructions for each applicable space type. In our example, the hardware supply company must pay for 50 spaces at a discounted rate of $25 whether they use the spaces or not. All additional spaces that they use are billed at the market rate, and they can use up to a total of 60 unreserved spaces. To set these terms, first select the Location/Contract from the drop-down menu. Then select the applicable space type from the drop-down menu. Next, set the status as Active from the drop-down menu and set the start date for the contract. Then add the minimum number of required spaces to the minimum quantity field. If the contract doesn't include a minimum quantity, leave this field blank. Then add the percentage of the market rate for these spaces or the dollar value of the rate, whichever is applicable to the contract. Please note that if the first tier of parkers do not pay, populate the rate/percentage field with the value 0.0001. If left blank or populated with the value 0, the current market rate will automatically be charged. If a percentage of market rate was used in this field, check the percent of market rate box. Otherwise, leave this blank. If Zephire should calculate the appropriate rate based on the lesser of the market or contract rate, check this box. It can be left blank otherwise. If an additional quantity of spaces should be charged the rate applicable to the minimum quantity, or for the initial set of spaces where there isn't a minimum quantity, enter the number in the quantity field. The setting used for the check boxes in the previous steps will apply to these spaces. In our example, there aren't additional spaces available at this rate, so we're leaving this field blank and instead adding 60 to the maximum quantity field. Again, in our example, all spaces after minimum quantity should be charged the market rate, so the last step is to check the Revert to Market Rate checkbox. If the maximum quantity field isn't used at all, the account will be able to add an unlimited number of spaces/parkers to the account. Each space beyond the quantities defined will be charged at the highest tier level within the contract setup unless the Revert to Market Rate checkbox is used. If this box is checked, additional spaces used beyond those defined in the tiers will revert to the market rate. If there are additional tiers for rates for a contract you are setting up, levels 2 through 5 at the bottom of the screen can be used. These can be rate values or a percentage of the market rate as well, based on whether you click the percent of market rate box on each line. Once you've entered the terms specific to the contract you're working with, press the Save button. Please note that once billing terms are configured for a space type, you can click on the New button and repeat this process for additional space types at the location. Also note that at least one parker must be added for the contract invoicing to work properly each month. Next, go to the Parker Information tab and select the contract or the location. Then click on the Add Parker button and set up a Parker who is part of the contract. Select the Parker from the drop-down menu, and keep in mind that the Parker must be set up in the Parkers menu. Then select the type of space the Parker will use. The system will not charge the account on a per space basis, but this will enable tracking of space utilization by space type. Then select the credential number. Next, update the status as well as start date and end date as applicable. Also select the delivery method for how the Parker will receive his or her credential. Once complete, press Save. Repeat this process for all Parkers associated with the contract. During the recurring monthly invoicing process, this account will be charged the contract amount, regardless of the number of Parkers set up under the contract or the space types or rates they are assigned.